This is part 2 of Tubbo's lore recap. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching part 1. I covered Tubbo's character from the beginning of the SMP to around like mid-Snowchester. So again, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend. Starting off this lore recap with the outpost lore, the Quakey outpost lore against Las Nevadas. This started out originally as like a little tiny like hidey hole project because Tubbo wanted to look over Las Nevadas. And to understand this, you need to understand that at the core of Tubbo's character is a need for safety and security. That's all he's ever really wanted, is safety and security, and you can see that across the story with his character. And so Las Nevadas popped up and he's a bit threatened, so he built something to sort of overlook them and see what's going on. He's a very paranoid character as well, so he just needs to make sure that everything's going okay. But Tubbo loves his projects, and it gets bigger and bigger, and sort of becomes more of like a fortress type thing with big walls around it, which Tubbo always likes walls. They're around most of the things he builds, again, for safety and security. Eventually Rambu comes and starts helping him out, and Tubbo makes a front of it being a cookie outpost where he sells cookies. They do actually make cookies, but the main point of it is still to overlook Las Nevadas. Quakey eventually catches wind of this and gets a bit threatened, which, fair, it's a big, like, castle next to your land. And then they start having arguments about what to do about it. And going back to the VODs, it is exhausting because they literally just stand there for 2 hours arguing back and forth without ever coming to any sort of compromise. They're both very stubborn people who both really want to stay where they are, and this shows a lot of great development from Tubbo, because before he was sort of starting to stand up for himself, but this is the first time we've really seen it where he stands his ground and says, no, I'm not taking down these walls. I'm not doing that. And it's also really showing how much Tubbo is focused on safety nowadays, and how in the past he's had to take down walls over and over and over again, and this time he's not letting that happen. This sort of conflict between Quakey and Tubbo also brings some cute developmental moments for Bidu. They stand up for each other a lot. Rambu really defends Tubbo and is quite clingy towards him. This is where Rambu calls Tubbo his other half and stuff like that. Around this time is also when they have the festival conversation, where Tubbo finally tells Rambu about what happened at the festival. He downplays it a lot because it's Tubbo, and he doesn't want people to worry for him, and he doesn't want to have to worry about himself. But Rambu's concerned anyway. He asks if he's okay, and Tubbo, either through misdirected anger at Quakey or just misremembering the events, paints Quakey as a person who was involved a lot more than he was. But yeah, they finally get that out of the way of communication. They have a very heartfelt conversation about looking out for each other and telling each other if they step out of line and stuff like that. So that's good, really good development for them. Fast forwarding a bit, the next big plot point would be Wilburs' dream, where he goes to Lemamberg, or what used to be Lemamberg, at the anniversary, and he runs into Tubbo singing at the manhole crying. This stream is very big for Tubbo's character. There's a lot that goes on here, a lot of development. First of all, we sort of learn how lost Tubbo has been after New Lemamberg. He talks about how after New Lemamberg, he basically lost his purpose, and he's been lost ever since. And this is because Tubbo needs and wants community, something to be a part of and some sort of purpose to do within that community, and he lost that in New Lemamberg, and he tried to recreate that in Snowchester, and it almost worked. There were some people moving in, but eventually they all left until it was just him in this lonely, cold-ass town with Michael and occasionally Rambu when he visits. So you can kind of see how he was at a low point really for a while in Snowchester, just because of how lonely and barren it was, and him turning to nukes. It paints that whole arc in a very different picture of melancholy and sadness. So we learn about his loss of purpose and how he misses the community of Lemamberg and misses having a purpose in life. Wilbur tries to apologize to Tubbo, and Tubbo says, "I forgive you, but I don't trust you." Wilbur is kind of taken aback at this because it's Tubbo. He always trusts people. He always follows along. Tubbo has been one of the most forgiving and trusting people of the entire server. You could kind of do whatever you wanted to him, and it didn't really matter. He wouldn't really bat an eye all too much. This has changed quite a lot, and it's really a show of Tubbo's development that he can stand up for himself against Wilbur, of all people, who he has followed till the end of the line, and say, "You have to earn my trust back." Because Wilbur has sort of messed Tubbo's life up quite a lot with bringing him into Lemamberg and then making him a spy and blowing up his new country right in front of him for fucking off and dying. Like, it's understandable that Tubbo would want Wilbur to sort of stay away and not really want anything to do with him for the time being. Wilbur tries to get Tubbo in on his van scheme, and Tubbo basically says, "No, go away." And we also learn of the canonization of Tubbo's intense PTSD from the festival, which we kind of already knew through hints and jokes and stuff, but it's very much completely out in the open here that Tubbo gets nightmares about the festival every single night. And thinking about that, coupled with the whole being of lonely in Snowchester without a purpose, it just gets so sad. The very next day is where we learn that Tubbo has joined Quackity in Las Nevadas. Now, this is because, like I said, Tubbo needs a sense of community and a sense of doing something within a community, a sense of purpose. And he saw that opportunity in Las Nevadas. And he's not even really, truly a part of Las Nevadas, like a citizen. He's not really a part of the lore that they do. He just kind of comes over to be a fast food worker. But yeah, I'm guessing Quackity came to him with a deal. We never actually saw the on-screen interaction they had where he joined the burger place in Las Nevadas. I'm assuming Quackity came to him with a deal of some sort, and Tubbo saw an opportunity to be a part of something again, which makes him really happy. Part of this deal is bringing the outpost into Las Nevadas space. Wilbur is kind of infuriated about this, which is funny, and Rambu is kind of dumbfounded, and they go into the Wilbur's van to talk about it, Bijojo. And this is where the argument happens, and it's all based around miscommunication, which is the theme of the server, it so happens. They just have a fundamental misunderstanding of what's happening here. Rambu asks Tubbo about why he's standing up with the Quackity, why he gave the outpost away after everything that happened at the festival, because again, Quackity's involvement was a little bit exaggerated. And Tubbo basically talks about wanting a sense of community and how Rambu, is teamed with Wilbur. How can he trust him? And basically what's happening here is that Tubbo, like I said, wants Wilbur to earn his trust, while Rambu is willing to give Wilbur a second chance immediately without any of that. So that's another sort of difference in their characters that's really clashing here. And it wouldn't have in the past, but Tubbo's developed now. And Tubbo talks about how the outpost is a part of Las Nevadas, and Rambu takes great offense to that. And that's probably, again, a difference in their characters, where Tubbo doesn't really latch onto the physical thing as much as the people who he's made the thing with. So Rambu and stuff. While Rambu is very much attached to physical things and what they represent. So that's a part of why he would hate the outpost to be part of Las Nevadas, and also the not great communication there, where Tubbo didn't tell him about that. And here's the big quote that everyone quotes about how Tubbo says he's been the happiest he's been in a while, and Rambu goes, "You weren't happy before," and stuff like that, where people paint it in very different ways. Just to be clear, Tubbo loves their marriage. He loves Rambu. He's very happy with Rambu. But the thing is, you can't get happiness from one person solely and rely on one person. I'm going to repeat this again because it's very important. Tubbo needs a sense of community, a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. He hasn't had that in a very long time. He saw it in Las Nevadas, and now that he's in Las Nevadas, he's very happy with his job. That doesn't mean he wasn't happy with Rambu. Rambu was probably one of his only shining lights while in the depressive thing of Snowchester, where he was super lost. It's just that Rambu misunderstood what Tubbo said as, "I was never happy with you. You didn't give me happiness. Now I'm finally happy." And there's that big misunderstanding there. Rambu leaves the van very upset. Tubbo leaves the van very, very confused on what's happening. And unfortunately, Tubbo never gets to ask the follow-up question on what happened there, because the next plot point we're going to is Dream's escape and Rambu's death. Can Tubbo ever be happy? Are we ever going to allow that to happen in a plot line? Because being a Tubbo character enthusiast just feels like kicking a puppy when it's down over and over and over and over again. So basically, Dream escapes. Tubbo is not there at the time of the situation. He joins. Sapnap tells him that Dream has escaped, and Tubbo goes and hides because Dreams has been very much after him in the past, so he's a bit scared. And then eventually Techno comes over to Snowchester and they have this big conversation about Rambu's death. Techno doesn't know about him and Rambu's marriage. He doesn't know about Michael at all. So when he asked Tubbo, do you know Rambu? Tubbo initially goes, yeah, he's my best friend, because that's kind of what they agreed upon with hiding their relationship and marriage. And then Techno gives him a photograph of Michael, because that is what Rambu dropped to him in his last moments, and he's confused on what it means. And Tubbo asks, what's this about? And Techno goes, Rambu died. And Tubbo goes silent. And if you were expecting like this big emotional punch, like this big heartfelt reaction from Tubbo, then you really don't know his character, because again, he goes immediately into denial, because that's who he is. This is I can't even count how many times something has been taken from him that gave him joy, how many times a loved one has died. So he's kind of numb, and he immediately focuses into something else, which is something he's done over and over again to other losts of his close, like, people and friends. He immediately focuses on something else, and that's finding out about Michael and why Rambu gave him this picture, and going into Michael's room where he sees that Michael is gone. And for the first time in a long time, he is 100% alone. Techno's there in the room physically, but he is alone. During that depressive time in Snowchester, he felt super fucking alone. It was just him and Michael in Snowchester and occasionally Rambu. But he had Rambu as a connection still, even if it was just a visit. He had Michael right above him in his room. But now, his attempted murderer is out on the loose. His husband is dead, and his son is missing. This might be the lowest we have ever seen Tubbo. And he's scrambling, and it's heartbreaking to see him scrambling. He asks Techno what to do. What do? I don't know what to do. And Techno doesn't know what to do either. Why are you asking him? And it's because Tubbo genuinely has no idea what to do in the situation. And again, in denial, he goes to Techno and he goes, he's not actually dead. Right? Rambu's not actually dead. And it's just really heartbreaking to see him have everything taken away from him again. To see him have this sort of glimpse at maybe a normal life with a family and a job. And no, it's immediately ruined. So Techno and Tubbo plan on having a sort of a rescue mission for Michael. They might have a healing arc, which is actually really interesting. Though I have to say, if they were to have a healing arc, I do kind of want Techno to treat Tubbo more as a human being, and for certain things to be addressed and rather not glossed over. I feel like this healing arc can go very wrong very fast, but I am interested to see how it plays out. That is all cut up to where Tubbo is currently in the story, and again, he might be at his lowest as we've ever seen him. Of course, he's not going to let it show, though, because he's Tubbo, and hiding emotions is literally second nature to him. Alright, thank you for watching, and yeah.